네, 안녕하세요. 반갑습니다. 소소한소통의 백정현입니다. 오늘 우리나라보다 오래전부터 쉬운 정보를 제작하고 활용하고 있는 영국의 이야기를 드려보려고 합니다. 오늘 이 자리를 위해서 1년 넘는 시간을 준비를 했는데요. 바쁜 와중에도 한국의 시청자들을 위해 오늘 함께 해주신 분은 영국의 인스파이어드 서비스 앤드류입니다. 오늘 통역은 저희 소소한소통에서 디자이너로 일을 하고 있는 전여정님, 에밀리가 진행을 해줄 텐데요. 오늘 잘 부탁드립니다, 에밀리. 그럼 바로 만나볼까요? 안녕하세요, 앤드류.
You're very welcome indeed. It's an honor for us to know that our work has spread so far and wide.
바쁜 시간 내서 이렇게 함께 해주셔서 다시 한번 감사드리는데요. 요새 어떻게 지내는지, 특히 이제 위클리 기준 업무가 어떻게 되는지 너무 궁금합니다.
I'm very well, thank you, and looking forward to a warm summer here, I hope, with lots of sailing. I now live on a boat most of the time, rather than in an office working. Would you like a look? I'll just turn the camera around.
보여드릴까요?
The view from my back window.
와우!
Work-wise, I have actually been hoping to retire for a while now. My main aim is to do less. I've been doing this now since 1974, but our COVID lockdown did see me doing more work, and that has meant we're now busier than ever. So from the business point of view, I share the day-to-day project management with my design manager. So I just do 2 days, Joe does the other 3. We're constantly juggling with job priorities and deadlines.
주 2일 근무라면 앤드류가 팀 내 관리를 하는 건지 아니면 쉬운 정보 제작, 글 작성을 직접 하는 건지 궁금한데요.
I have a very good team of people working with me. So we have 2 very good writers now working in Australia, which is really good if you want something done overnight because of the time difference. 2 more in the UK. But good, easy read writers we find are very rare people. I always try to find people who have good experience of working with people with learning disabilities. So often they're advocates. And then they need to be able to make complicated things simple enough and be very good writers. It's not a simple job, and many people who think they are good writers and can do it easily actually can't.
굉장히 공감이 되는 것 같아요. 저희 소소한 소통도 얼마 전에 쉬운 정보 제작 가이드를 만들었는데 책 이름이 쉬운 정보 만드는 건 왜 안 쉽죠거든요.
That sums it up beautifully.
그래서 글을 잘 쓴다고 되는 것이 아니라는 거, 복잡한 것을 간단하게 만들고 글을 잘 써야 되는 게 쉽지 않다는 거 너무 공감이 됩니다. 우리 한국은 쉬운 정보를 만들게 된 지 얼마 되지 않았는데 영국에서는 이제 시작된 계기나 언제부터 이렇게 쉬운 정보가 활용됐는지가 궁금하거든요.
I suppose my working with people with learning disabilities has always been about empowerment. To do that, people need to be informed. This got more paper-based, the information we were giving in the 1980s when I ran an education hostel, and we got people to recognise and choose the independent skills they needed in life. That needed easy words and pictures. Whenever I wrote or did research into how people's lives were, how good or usually how bad their support was, I always had easy read versions for people. This ended up in a new government learning disability strategy where we supported people themselves from all over the country to help make it. And Eve, who we're talking to later, was a big part of that, and she'll be able to talk more about it later.
네, 이분은 발달장애인 당사자가 이따 출연을 하는데 이따 얘기를 더 들어보면 되겠습니다. 지금 이야기해 주신 것 중에 권리를 가지려면 정보가 있어야 하는 부분이 굉장히 공감이 되고요. 현재 인스파이어드 서비스에서 하고 있는 중점 사업이 무엇인지, 그리고 최근 이제 3년 동안 영국에서는 어떤 주제, 어떤 형식의 쉬운 정보가 만들어지고 있는지를 좀.
I think things have changed quite a lot in the last 3 years, where with COVID, with the increase in the numbers of refugees, for instance. So we've been doing a lot of work more recently with the United Nations and international rescue. on voting, and that's a worldwide project. The work on voting was built on some work we did years ago where we were working for an international advocacy organisation then, looking at changing the laws on mental capacity in Kenya. And it's crazy really to think that we're a part of such important work, even if only sort of a very small part.
참정권에 대한 투표에 관한 이야기를 해주셔서 영국에서 참정권 관련하여 법적, 제도적으로 보장된 권리가 있는지 좀 궁금한데요. 지금 한국에서는 최근 발달장애인 당사자와 관련 단체를 중심으로 그림 투표용지와 쉬운 공보물을 요구하는 참정권 운동이 굉장히 활발합니다.
We did do a big project a few years back on making the whole system easier. Our part in that was developing the symbols to be used so that people could, for instance, vote on their mobile phones. It was all going to be electronic and it was going to be much easier. We asked people what they wanted and we tested the results. I think I've sent you a link to some of those images, which, whilst I know some will be British, like the pictures of the British government, if they're any use for your voting work, you're more than welcome to use them.
감사하게 잘 쓰겠습니다. 네. 혹시 소개해줄 만한 또 다른 작업이 있는가요?
Out of now the thousands that we have done over the years, one that I was proud of is, but is so important, is helping keep girls safe when they're living in more dangerous countries, and often as refugees. So that started, I think, with work in Myanmar. This explains what services there are to help girls stay safe. The other one I said to you is a very practical one for a local council here in the UK. It basically says, in these times when money is hard, you've got to pay lots more for your care and support services. I'm not so proud of this when we're sending out information saying that people's lives are going to be made worse. We've also had upsetting work with stuff we've done, information for refugees. For the first time, I've offered people working for us, writers who are working on it, counselling because it was so upsetting. The one in particular was a yearly review we do for the United Nations called Voices from Syria. And it's about the experience of women in refugee camps that is just getting worse and worse. We just hope that the document makes some small changes, no matter, some change, no matter how small.
한국에서는 쉬운 정보가 대체적으로 발달장애인이 이제 실용적인 내용, 보고 따라할 수 있는 이제 정보가 굉장히 많은 편인데 영국은 리포트 작업의 스타일이 많은 게 이제 조금 인상적인 것 같습니다.
Both has their place, I think. It's important for people to know about their local services, to know how to get hospital services. We have a lot more information around particular health problems.
쉬운 정보와 관련돼서 정책적으로 이걸 만들어야 되는 법이 정해져 있는가요?
We do have a law that says that firms and organisations need to make what they call reasonable adjustments to meet people's access needs. And usually when people ask for an easy read, they usually get it. Sometimes, like the work you mentioned, the organisation does think of it first, although more usually they only remember sort of the day before the launch and it's all a big rush.
그러면 이제 그렇게 만들어진 쉬운 정보를 사람들이 어떻게 접근을 하고 이용하는지도 좀 궁금한데요.
We've had a bit of a problem really where government and others want to push everything online. It's cheaper for them, of course, not having to print things or send them out. With EasyRead, we try hard to make sure that paper copies are still offered because we find so many people want something in their hands to hold, to keep, and of course, lots of people don't use computers. And of course, a lot of people depend on their support workers to help them through all this. So it's important to keep that on mind, that just giving a paper isn't a be-all and end-all. People have to sometimes have to be supported to read it and understand what it means for them.
한국에서도 이제 저희가 만든 쉬운 정보는 그냥 만들어서 드리기보다 실제 그거를 지원하는 사람들이 활용할 수 있는 방안에 대해서 저희도 계속 고민을 하고 있는데요. 그렇게 해서 저희가 만든 자료를 조금 보여드리고 싶어요.
That would be very interesting.
쉬운 정보를 만들다 보면 쉬운 정보가 정말 쉬운지 이런 기준에 대해서 고민을 하고 있고, 발달장애인이 워낙 넓은 스펙트럼을 가지고 있다 보니까 발달장애인의 이해 수준이 굉장히 다양한데 영국에서는 그런 이해 수준에 따라서 개별화되어서 만들어지는지, 혹은 발달장애인이 아닌 다른 이제 대상까지 포함하고 있는지 이렇게 궁금합니다.
It's very important, and of course not one style or level of difficulty suits everyone. But of course, most of the time that's not possible. We're doing it for a lot of people. So the next best thing is trying to make sure people have support to go through a document. We've always said Easy Read is great for people who can't read well, just because they haven't been to school much, for instance. So, for example, it goes down very well in prisons where lots of people struggle to read. There was a test done once in prisons where they were offered a document in Easy Read and in the standard format. And this was about asking for a review of your case because you think you were innocent. Almost everyone chose the Easy Read version, and there was an increase because of that of the numbers of people who went back to court and were found to be innocent. So it really worked well.
영국에서는 쉬운 정보 제작을 한 법적인 혹은 제도적인 근거가 있는지, 한국에서는 발달장애인법에 관련 조항이 있고, 근데 그게 힘을 발휘하지는 못하고 있고, 그리고 법이 시행된 지 6년이 지났는데 지금도 관심 있는 기관이나 관심 있는 사람 중심으로 제작되고 있거든요. 그래서 무엇보다 정부나 공공 차원의 약간 공신력 있는 가이드가 없어서 민간기관 실무자의 혼란도 존재하는데 영국은 어떤지 궁금합니다.
The main law we have is the one I mentioned earlier about the right to information in the format that you need. And that's the basic one that people use. And it's good when people remember, but often it can just be a tick box exercise. We do a lot of work for Parliament, and that's is when all the parties come together and they have joint committees looking at particular things. And we like those best because they often want the truth about things and want to really find out about what's happening. And then there is work for the government, that's the people in power. With them, they usually start with a consultation exercise where they're meant to be asking people what they think, but they actually steer people to give the answers that they want. So this can get tricky and easy where we're explaining what something really means simply so that people understand what the proposals actually do mean. So for example, we were asked to do one on the future of the BBC. And we did an easy read of it, but they refused to print it because it said what they were actually trying to do.
저희 소소한 소통은 이제 정부나 공공기관과 그런 제작을 한 사례는 많지 않지만 원하는 것을 정해놓고 한다라는 부분이 되게 공감되는 파트너가 있어요. 얘기해 주신 거를 좀 예를 들어서 어떤 게 있는지 궁금합니다.
Well, it's good to know we have similar problems wherever we are in the world. Since we left the EU, there's been a lot of talk about human rights laws here and about getting rid of them. So they are asking at the moment about a new law on deporting refugees and asylum seekers. And when we talked in our Easy Read about some of the reasons why people don't want to be sent back, like fear of torture or death, those words were all changed and reduced to because it might be bad for their families. This obviously has a completely different meaning. And people get understand it very differently, and it's not explained what rights we're actually throwing away here. Sometimes we do, we try and be naughty and try and, if they don't let us use the words, we try and slip some things in the pictures. If it comes down to it and they won't change, we might stop the work or remove our credits from the work. But that's usually an empty gesture because other companies would do it instead.
이 부분도 사실 되게 공감이 되는데 정치적인 것까지는 아니지만 저희 소소한 소통도 함께하는 파트너가 쉬운 정보와 점점 멀어지는 요구를 할 때 제작했다는 거에 저희 이름을 똑같이 빼려고 합니다. 쉬운 정보 제작과 관련돼서 표준화되거나 혹은 대표적으로 사용되는 가이드라인이 있는지도 궁금해요. 한국에서는 약간 가이드가 조금씩 연구 결과로 있는데 아직 하나로 만들기 위한 시도 자체를 하지 않았지만 영국과 상황이 다르지 않을 거란 예상도 된다.
So we don't have sort of the official standards as such. We have what they call guidelines, not rules. That's what we wanted the independent group to do, but and we wouldn't want government to set the rules. We would want a user group to set the rules. That would be ideal, and hopefully it'll happen.
영국에서는 이제 쉬운 정보와 관련해서 이게 정말 발달장애인에게 정보 접근에 도움이 되는지 이런 효과성에 대한 검증 과정 혹은 연구가 진행된 적이 있을까요?
Not very much, and most is anecdotal. That is, people who are getting it say they like it and find it useful. We've done some research that found, for instance, on a particular college documents, that people found the drawings that we had were better than photographs that could be distracting because of the actual people in them, the faces, the backgrounds, whatever.
소소한 소통도 5년 넘게 쉬운 정보를 만들다 보니 지금 영국 앤드류가 얘기한 것처럼 너무 좋다, 도움이 됐다 이런 언어적인 구도의 피드백은 많이 받는데 사실은 정말 효과성이 있는지에 대한 검증이 필요하다라고 생각이 들어서 실제 얼마큼 어떻게 변화를 가져오는지 객관적인 분석을 하고 싶어서 개인적으로 공부를 시작했습니다.
That sounds brilliant and exactly the sort of thing that we would love to see your results on, and get an English translation please. and an easy version of course of it.
번역과 우리 에밀리가 하겠습니다.
Sorry, I've just given you another job.
그럼 지금까지 앤드류와 함께 영국의 쉬운 정보에 대해서 이야기 나누는 시간을 가졌고요. 잠시 쉬었다가 2부에서 새로운 손님들과 함께 만나겠습니다.
Yeah, I'm connected. Hang on. Wait a minute. Hang on. No, that's secure. Oh, for God's sakes.
No swearing, you're live on TV.
Don't care. Yeah?
Good morning.
Good morning.
The top of your head, Eve.
Yeah, that's fine. I was looking at the screen because I couldn't see anything at the time. But I'm here now.
자, 지금부터는 두 분의 손님을 초대해서 함께 이야기를 나눌 텐데요. 영국과 한국의 발달장애인 당사자분들을 모셨습니다. 두 분 모두 쉬운 정보 제작 과정에 참여를 하고 있고 그 경험과 생각을 함께 나누고자 합니다. 2부 그리고 성교님 안녕하세요.
웰컴.
간단한 자기소개를 부탁드립니다.
I'm Eve Bennett. My first job was working with an organisation for people with learning difficulties. It was a self-advocacy group in Cambridge. As well as that, I was volunteering for an organisation, a national organisation called London People First. And that's where I think I met you, Andrew, before the DRC.
다양한 조직에서 활동을 한 당사자 2부를 만나게 돼서 정말 영광으로 생각합니다. 성교님도 자기소개를 간단하게 부탁드릴게요.
저는 네이버에서 일하는 김선교라고 합니다. 소소한 소통이 처음 만들어졌을 때 쉬운 정보 감수위원으로 일하는데 활동했었어요. 만나서 반갑습니다.
이브가 여러 해 동안 많은 일을 했고, 그리고 한때는 영국의 장애인권리위원회 유일한 발달장애인 위원으로 활동했다고 들었는데, 이 활동에 대해서 어떻게 일을 시작했는지, 그리고 어떻게 쉬운 정보, 이들을 만들게 되었는지 얘기해 주실 수 있으실까요?
It was through when I first worked at Cambridge, between volunteering and getting a job there, because I was chair of that organisation. A lady, what was on our committee. I thought she saw it through the Guardian, which is one of the English papers we have here, and she saw the ad, and I didn't know, but she got the application form, and she come in and she says, "Eva, where will we?" And she says, "I think you'd be really good at this." Because they were and I thought, oh well, I'll fill it in, I'll keep the pace, yeah? Because I just wanted to get on doing what I needed to do. So in the November of 99, I remember going through the interview in London. I wasn't supposed to know until the January. That didn't happen. I found out before I should have found out. That was quite funny. I was in a room full of people, and Andrew were there, and they were congratulating me, and I couldn't think, and I'm going, thank you. And I had no idea what people were congratulating me for, and I ended up having to ask one of the civil servants in the Department of Health, what are they congratulating me for? So it was quite funny. I don't know whether you can remember that, Andrew, but I certainly can. Yeah. So yeah, and that's how I got onto the Disability Rights Commission. And then when we opened our doors 2000. And it was beginning to find its feet.
아, 99년부터 일을 시작한 그 사실이었군요.
Thank you.
You haven't got all the grey hairs yet, though, so you don't look that old, Eve.
I've got the grey hairs, Andrew, and it is actually caused by you, love.
그러면 이분은 지금 이제 쉬운 정보 만드는 일 외에 다양한 이제 발달장애인의 권익공헌 활동을 하고 있기도 한데, 저희는 이제 쉬운 정보에 대한 이야기를 조금 하고 싶어요. 그래서 현재 이브가 소속된 곳 혹은 영국의 다른 기관에서 쉬운 정보 제작 과정에 발달장애인들이 어떻게 참여하고 있는지가 궁금합니다.
I think for me to start off with, the Disability Rights Commission ended up doing some publication. They went to Mencap to start off with, and I think they were just sort of like guessing, because I think Easy Read back in the 2000s, it was new then. Would you say it was new then, Andrew? Yeah?
Yeah.
They just didn't know where to start with, and people were just sort of like guessing. And I remember them saying, "Oh, this is." I remember them saying, "Oh, this is really wonderful," and the pictures didn't match. The pictures didn't match the sentences. And I remember complaining to Bert about it, because they just sent it. That's how I got it, because they said, "Eve, I want you to do our Easy Read documents." I got it, and it was something that I was really, really passionate about, and still am. I still bang on about it. It's like a Bible to me, because if you don't have Easy Read, if you can't read something, there's no point in having it, because you can't understand it. Yeah? And I think it enables people who can't read now to be able to read if they have a format that is accessible for them to be able to do it. I couldn't read until I was 21, and I learned through a children's Bible.
이브가 얘기한 이제 읽기 어려운 자료를 만드는 거는 의미가 없다라는 말에 굉장히 공감을 합니다. 그래서 두 분에게 이제 물어보고 싶은 거는 시온정보 제작 과정에 당사자로서 참여하는 것이 어떤지 궁금하거든요.
어려운 것을 쉽게 바꾸는 것이 정말 보람됩니다. 제가 참여해서 쉽게 만들어진 것이 많은 발달 장애인들이 보는 게 아주 뿌듯해요.
성교님은 저희 소소한 소통이 생긴 2017년부터 당사자로서 제작 과정에 계속 참여를 하셨어요. 이분은 이제 당사자로서 그 경험에 대해서 어떤 생각을 하고 있는지 궁금합니다.
I love Easy Read. I'm proud to be able to make Easy Read.
그간 참여한 자료가 굉장히 많을 텐데 그 주제 중에 내가 참여해서 만든 주제 중에 어떤 정보가 가장 기억에 남는지도 궁금합니다.
Yeah, when we made, can you hear me? When the Disability Rights Commission decided that it needed some easy read standards put out, because many government departments were still putting out stuff what wasn't in easy read. And they knew about it, and they knew about the Discrimination Act, and they knew it was they knew that Easy Read was part of the Discrimination Act, that they should do it, but they didn't know how to do it. So we come up with the idea of having the Easy Read standards, like we would have like the front black 14, yeah. The blinding's got to be. I was proud of everything really that I did with the DRC. I think that was one of the, and I do miss it. I do miss the guys. I'm still in contact with some of the guys, and as you know, I'm proud of the work that we did and do as well.
이분은 장애인권리위원회에서 가이드라인 참여한 게 가장 기억에 남았다고 하거든요. 성교님은 소소한 소통에서 소속돼서 어떤 자료 제작 참여한 게 가장 기억에 남는지 얘기를 해주실게요.
선거, 태풍 화재 안전, 장례식장 예절에 기억에 매우 남았었습니다. 특히 장례식장 예절에 매우 기억에 남았었는데 책을 보고 실제로 장례식장에 가서 인사를 나눴었고 영상을 만들 때는 직접 내레이션을 하기도 했었는데 가장 기억에 남았었습니다. 그리고 장례식장 예절에 대해서 많이도 알게 되었습니다.
That looks really helpful. And as you say, if you didn't know any of those things, how would you know about them unless you had a good easy read guide? Can I ask Sanjay, did that help you?
예, 도움이 된 것 같습니다.
그러면 이제 앤드류에게 묻고 싶은데 쉬운 정보가 영국의 발달장애인에게 실제 어떻게 활용되고 있는가요?
Well, I mean, there's
so much easy read now, a whole range of it, and we'd have some websites that give you links to all the information there is on, for instance, education or health topics. So that's been really useful to have, even in, for instance, doctor surgeries, where a doctor can give you a leaflet now in easy read about something that's wrong with you, or when you visit a hospital, the same sort of thing.
영국 사회에서 대중들, 사회가 가진 쉬운 정보에 대한 인식은 어떠한지도 궁금한데 앞에서 점자만큼 만들어지고 있지 않다, 대중화되지 않았다는 얘기를 잠깐 해줬는데 한국도 마찬가지예요. 자, 한국에서 특히 저희는 시각장애인 분들이 점자, 음성으로 정보를 보는 것처럼 혹은 청각장애인이 수어를 쓰는 것처럼 발달장애인에게 쉬운 정보는 이제 당연한 권리다라고 주장을 하고 있거든요. 영국의 상황도 마찬가지인지 궁금합니다.
Like you, it's the newer format and not as well established, but it's growing. It's growing. Sometimes when people are unaware, like a reporter in a news story is unaware that a document is easy read, he'll say things like, why are the government treating us like idiots producing this easy read paper, not realizing that it's not for him, it's for a group of people with learning disabilities. So once that's pointed out, they usually climb down off their, making a fuss about it and saying, why is the government wasting money on this or that? When it's explained, they usually understand. But that can be difficult when it's sort of thrown around as an insult.
선교가 영국에 궁금하다는 게 사실 이 오늘 모임을 할 때부터 계속 궁금하다고 했었던 게 있어서 질문을 하고 싶다고 하거든요.
코로나로 많이 답답하고 매우 힘들었었어요. 코로나 관련 자료를 소소한 소통에서 만들기로 했었는데 영국은 어땠어요?
I think one of the main things, and perhaps a lesson that we need to learn for the future, is about how quickly our rules changed here and how to try and keep people up with the changes in the rules. So not only did you have to do the first stuff, but each week the rules were changing. So it was a real problem.
공감이 되나요?
계속 바뀌어야 하기 때문에.
사실 앤드류 입장에서도 멀리 있는 한국에 있는 쉬운 정보 제작하는 사람이 반가웠을 거라고 생각이 드는데 혹시 이제 쉬운 정보를 만드는 우리 둘 실무자 혹은 이제 선교님한테 궁금한 게 없을까 이런 생각이 들거든요.
I suppose, throwing it back into your court, where do you see easy reading career going? What do you have any aims or ambitions for the next few years yourselves?
어떻게 나와야 되지? 쉬운 정보가 한국에서 어떻게 되면 좋겠어요, 선교님?
예를 들면 뭐 박물관이나 뭐 경기장에서 어떻게 이용하는 법도 만들었으면 좋겠고요. 또 요리하는 방법도 알렸으면 좋겠습니다. 또 여행 꿀팁 정보 그런 것도 쉬운 정보 알려줬으면 합니다.
Yes, I certainly think cooking on a budget, but cooking healthy meals and healthy food. We've done some on it, but there's plenty more to be done on that to make it easier for people. That's for sure. But from what I've seen from your examples that you've shown us, I think they look brilliant. The stuff you've done on COVID and funerals and so on, and I think keep doing more of the same. It's great stuff, and people need it.
감사합니다.
Thank you.
소소한 소통, 저희의 생각은 쉬운 정보가 한국에서 발달장애인에게 좀 더 권리로서 활용되었으면 좋겠다가 가장 큰 소망이고요. 그러려면 현재는 민간 중심으로 만들어지고 있는데 정부나 공공기관에서 쉬운 정보에 좀 더 책임감을 가지고 만들어야지 쉬운 정보가 발달장애인에게 아까 얘기한 것처럼 권리로서 쓰일 수 있지 않을까 생각을 합니다. 그래서 오늘 이렇게 멀리 있는 이제 앤드류와 이브를 만나자고 한 것도 한국에 있는 사람들에게 영국에서 쉬운 정보가 어떻게 만들어지고 활용되고 있는지 알려준다고 하면 그렇게 바르게 나아갈 길에 좀 더 가까워지지 않을까 생각을 했습니다.
Well, we hope that we've been able to help, and all power to you and to people in their pursuit of their rights.
되게 오랜 시간 참여해줬는데 앤드류의 오늘 이제 저나 뭐 선교님을 만난 소감 그리고 이렇게 두 분의 소감을 듣고 좀 마무리를 하면 좋을 것 같아요.
You can start first, and you.
Well, firstly, it's been very nice to be asked to be part of this and to share some of the things that we've learned, and also learn from you about so many of our shared experiences and difficulties. It seems we do have many of the very same issues and difficulties in our different countries. In a way that's good that we have the same problems, but also a pity that we have the same problems. And hopefully we can come together and with our easy read make things better step by step.
선교님 소감 혹시 오늘 앤드류랑 이브 만나는 소감 좀 이야기해 줄 수 있어요?
글로벌과 얘기하니까 정말 실감 정말 좋고요. 와, 영국에선 이런 쉬운 정보 만들어내는구나 이런 생각도 들었습니다. 생각보다 진짜 오래되었고요. 와, 이렇게 만나니까 정말 좋습니다.
For myself, I've learned so much about rights and how people have fought for rights. And it makes me think, wow, so many people are working so hard for these things. It gives a new meaning to the work I do. Thank you so much, Andrew and Eve, although she's not here.
그래서 코로나 때문에 이렇게 온라인으로 만났지만 언젠가는 우리가 영국에 가든 혹은 앤드류와 이브를 한국에 초대하든 해서 꼭 만나고 싶습니다. 그때까지 온라인으로 자주 소식 전하고 쉬운 정보 만드는 일을 각자의 나라에서 즐겁게 열심히 할 수 있기를 바라고 오늘 정말 감사합니다.
You're very, very welcome and thank you very much and thank you for everything you've shown me and that we've learned together today.
자, 그러면은 지금까지 영국의 인스파이어드 서비스 앤드류 그리고 이브와 이야기를 나누는 시간을 가졌습니다. 오늘 만나 뵙게 돼서 반가웠고 감사했습니다.
Goodbye.
Thank you for
Bye.
today.
Thank you.